You ever realize how loud silence can be? Not the kind that fills a quiet room. No, not that. I'm talking about the silence that comes when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop begging, when you stop giving second chances to people who treated your heart like a cigarette butt, used, burned out, and flicked away. That silence? It's louder than any scream. It echoes, it hurts, but not you. Not anymore. It kills them quietly. See, most people think vengeance is loud, explosions, words, fists, drama. But that's weak. That's people showing off because they still care. You really want to hurt someone who broke you? You don't argue. You don't cry. You don't threaten. You disappear. You go silent. You go ghost. That's the punishment they never see coming, because when you stop talking, they start hearing everything they did playing on repeat in their own damn minds. You ever seen a wolf leave the pack? No barking, no howling, just vanishing. They think he's broken, weak, but he comes back with scars, with ice in his eyes, with no mercy in his chest. That's what you become. Not a monster, not a villain, just someone who learned the power of shutting up and letting karma drive. Because the people who wronged you, they don't fear your anger, they fear your absence. Your silence reminds them they aren't worth a single word from your lips. Let me break it down for you. People are addicted to control. They want to know they still have a piece of you, that you still care, that they still matter. So every time you answer, even with rage, they feel alive. But when you stop responding, when you stop reacting, that's when they panic. That's when they realize you took your power back without a sound. Imagine this. Someone betrays you, lies, cheats, humiliates you. They expect you to fight, to scream, to break. But you don't. You just vanish. No closure, no explanation. Now they sit there, scrolling through old messages, stalking your socials, wondering, do you hate them? Do you still care? Have you moved on? It's a prison, a psychological one. You didn't lift a finger, but you buried them deep. People don't understand the art of silence. It's not about cowardice. It's about mastery. You have to reach a point where your peace is louder than any revenge, where your calm is more terrifying than your chaos. That's when you win. Not by getting even, but by becoming unreachable. You don't owe anyone a response. Not the people who left when you needed them. Not the ones who shattered your trust. Not the ones who only come around when they're bored. You owe yourself peace, growth. And sometimes that means cutting the cord, even if your hands are bleeding. You know why most people can't walk away? Because they're scared of being alone. But weren't you already alone? When they ignored you, when they lied, when they made you feel like a burden. So what exactly are you scared of losing? Something that never existed in the first place. Silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. If you shut up long enough, you'll hear the truth in that quiet. You'll hear your worth echo back at you. You'll feel the weight lift off your chest. No more explaining your heart to people who treated it like a doormat. Silence teaches you control. The kind you never had when you were explaining yourself to people who had already made up their minds. The kind you lost every time you begged someone to understand you when they never intended to listen. Silence teaches you to stop reaching, to stop offering, to stop handing out pieces of your soul to people who only came to take. And once you master it, oh, kid, it's game over, because people don't know what to do with silence. They can't argue with it, can't twist it, can't use it against you. They're left alone, with themselves. And trust me, that's a punishment far worse than your words could ever be. Stop thinking closure is a conversation. That's a scam they sold you to keep you tied to pain. You want real closure. Walk away, quietly, proudly. Don't send that text. Don't answer that call. Let them wonder. Let them rot in the silence they created for themselves. Because you don't owe them peace after they handed you war. You don't owe them softness after they handled you like you were disposable. You owe them nothing. People will stab you and then act confused when you bleed, burn you and then blame you for smelling like smoke. But you know what really kills them? When you don't respond, when you don't validate their games with your attention, when you just vanish, like you never existed. But your silence? It screams in their ears every quiet night, every dull moment, every shadow of guilt that creeps in. They remember. They feel it. They realize your love was real. And now it's gone. Now it's just a memory they can't escape. Here's some truth wrapped in razor wire. Most people only apologize when their comfort gets disturbed, not because they regret hurting you. You'll see this when you finally stop talking. That's when the fake, "I miss you" messages come in. That's when they try to bait you with nostalgia, with little traps to reel you back into their mess. But you ain't a fool anymore. You've seen the trick. You've lived the betrayal. You know what it feels like to bleed in silence while they sleep peacefully. They knew exactly what they were doing. Don't fool yourself into thinking otherwise. They knew when they ignored your messages. They knew when they lied straight to your face. They knew when they made you feel like you were too much, like your emotions were a burden. They just never thought you'd leave. They assumed you'd always stay, no matter how bad it got. But now they understand what real loss feels like. And it's not loud, it's not fireworks or explosions. It's quiet, cold, empty, just like the space you left behind. You're not broken. You're just done. Done trying to convince people to care. Done explaining yourself to deaf ears. Done handing out your loyalty like candy to people with rotting souls. Now you walk alone. Not because you have to, but because you choose to. And in that silence, in that solitude, you find yourself again. Not the old version, not the broken one, but the version that rose from the ashes. The version that isn't afraid to cut off anything that costs peace. The version that never looks back. They'll talk. Of course they will. They'll say you switched up. Say you changed. Say you became cold. But you're not cold. You're cured. Cured from the disease of people-pleasing. Cured from the addiction to toxic love. Cured from the sickness of giving everything to people who gave nothing in return. And your silence? That's the medicine. That's the reset button. That's the quiet revolution that saved your soul. Let them choke on the silence. Let them drown in the stillness. Let them feel the weight of your absence with every breath they take. Because you've already moved on. You've already evolved. You've already become everything they said you couldn't be. And you did it without a word, without drama, without revenge. Just silence, sharp, surgical, final. So when they come knocking, let them knock. Let them wonder. Let them suffer in the prison they built out of your silence. And you keep walking, head high, eyes forward. No guilt, no regret, no noise. Just that deadly calm, the kind that only comes after surviving the storm. And realizing the real power was never in your voice. It was in your silence.